Hello, everyone. Welcome to podcast 11 of the No One Else podcast. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Brock. Thanks for joining us once again. Episode 11. Getting further and further as we go along and more exciting, isn't it?
It is. It is. And what's even more exciting is that the NFL season is continuing to roll on and the NBA is back in full swing. Have you
Yes,
caught?
there's plenty finally going on.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't speak about it before, but have you caught any of the NBA this week, my friend?
Caught bits and pieces, obviously not every game because there's far too many and
Yeah, legit.
they're all over the place. But yeah, definitely trying to catch it wherever I can and seem to be shaping up for a decent season, even though we're, 4 or 5 games in.
Yeah, it really is. The Warriors look like shit. That's so funny.
Yep.
AD's absolutely cooking. LeBron's like, I don't know, in father time. Dude's chilling, getting like nearly a triple-double every game. I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good watch this season, which is what we all expected. Like a lot of people have been saying, this is probably one of the more exciting seasons to be looking forward to, just because there's been crazy switch ups for every team, and it's like every team besides Golden State have seemed to gotten better than last year.
Yeah, I think it's really just the belief. Like, it's just the belief that now every team has a chance. Like, even the guys that are probably going for the lottery, like, their rookies will still be hungry from college and they'll be like, well, now we have a genuine chance to prove ourselves and for it to mean something. Like, if they had gone on a run last year, it means nothing because even if they get to the finals, they have to play KD and Clay and shit. And now it actually means something. So,
no, it's super interesting. But the other thing that's super interesting is the Instagram No One Asked Underscore podcast. So once again, just throw that in, go throw it a cheeky follow, and catch all the posts and so on that's going on there.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very good plug. Very seamless. I rate it.
Just make it flow.
Exactly. All right. So what do we think about the Browns? Because I'm over them. I'm sick of believing in Freddie Kitchens. I'm only sick of Freddie Kitchens. I still like the Browns and I still like Odell and Baker and everything, but this man, we have given him a pass for too long. It is time to call out his shitty play calling and the fact that his team has no culture or discipline. They're still the most penalized team in the league. It lost them the game against the Titans. It's still losing them games. It's getting ridiculous now.
All right, so that was going to be my first question. Do you still have belief in Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I still have belief in Baker. I think, sophomore slump, but I also think, like, at the end of the day, I don't know, Baker's still, I have belief in him, but it's just getting a bit tough to. But also, I mean, while ever there's other factors to blame, I'll blame them first because I think Baker's definitely a confidence player, and I think the more and more that this team underperforms, I think the more and more likely it is that Baker's going to be another bust and Cleveland just sucks again, which I'm hoping and praying isn't the case. But, I mean, is there really much you can do when your offensive line causes your running back to fumble and then your running back runs for 88 yards on the Patriots defense and fumbles before he gets to the end zone, and then you try and throw, what was it? It was like what do they call that pass?
Flea flicker.
Yeah, flea flicker, and that gets picked. It's just...
nothing went right. Like,
no.
3 turnovers in 3 straight snaps was beyond ridiculous. And like you said, the first one was tackle at the ankles and the blockers, feet went up and knocked the ball out for a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. The second one is Nick Chubb going for 55 yards, then getting it punched out and turned over, and the flea flicker to follow it up was just rubbing salt in the wounds, and to do it in 3 straight plays was beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane, and I mean, literally, Browns get 13 penalties for 85 yards against the Patriots. You're not going to stay in a game with a defense that good, and I think obviously the thing that was impressive with the Browns was, I don't know, sort of their fight back after they went down 17, but you also have to wonder if the Patriots weren't up by that much, they still would have scored points on the Browns. I think the Patriots just went into cruise control, and So I think
no, I can see that, but the Browns actually quite surprised me. I didn't expect them to, I expected them to try and fight back, but not actually look good doing it. Like that probably second and third quarter, and even pushing into the fourth, even though things weren't going right for them, they were looking relatively good.
yeah,
And, as you blame Freddie Kitchen for the play calling or whatever, but can you really stop your players from giving away that many penalties?
no,
I think a lot of that, and majority of it was from the O-line, and that's the heart of your issue. And, even in this, before transfer deadline, they were trying to get Trent Williams from Redskins because he finally showed up after, holding out and so on and so forth, all the trouble he's been through with the Washington Redskins.
yeah,
But, nothing's working out for him. And is it Baker? Is it Odell? Is it the O-line? Is it Freddie Kitchens? Or is it just the head office that have no idea how to run an organization?
I don't know.
There's so many things that are wrong with this franchise. And it's, credit to them, they're taking some great step forwards. Like over the last few years, you have picks in Myles Garrett, who's one of the, great defensive players running around at the moment, being so young as well. And Baker, the hype is dying and he's looking like more of a bust each and every day.
Yeah.
But there's still faith for him. Like he went number one for a reason, and I'm sure he's going to pick up. It's just you need to get so many things right before that happens.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think you did say something about the front office, and I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, like, what could the Browns really do? I think the disappointing thing was some of their fans knew before the season that the O-line was going to be a weakness, and no one sort of paid attention to it. I think too much hype on the fact that they had Baker, who looked really good. He looked amazing in his first year for a rookie. And then they obviously go out and get Odell for a bag of chips. They have Jarvis to pair him with. They still have Nick Chubb. They go out and get Kareem Hunt, who we actually haven't, remember, he's coming back in week 12. So if this Browns team can turn it around, which I don't think they can, I just think this team's so depleted and so lost with a shit coach that I think some of the players might have just mentally checked out and they're just going, we'll tough it out a couple more weeks, get a new coach in, whether it's interim or he signs on to be long-term and then next season's the year we'll go. I don't know, but yeah, it's just, I think most of the problems come back to the O-line and the fact of how penalised it was in that Titans game and the fact that Freddie Kitchens thinks that his O-line is the Cowboys or the Patriots O-line when really he's trying to dial up plays with a bunch of turnstiles blocking Baker and it's just not working downfield.
Yeah, exactly. But, even you went back to saying they got Odell for a bag of chips and so on, in that they traded away Batonio, who was their best offensive linesman.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're setting up for failure when you're getting rid of the only good players you have, even for Odell. But the truth is, did they need Odell? I think it was just to buy into the hype of the Browns. Like, in my opinion, I think arguably Giants by far got the better side of that trade deal.
Oh, yeah.
Odell is one of the best wide receivers in the league, and is he doing it this season? I don't know, but I think he's been doing it better than he has in the last couple of seasons. Like, he's still yet to miss a game. He's been performing relatively well for what he can.
Yeah.
With the amount of targets he's getting and, the situations he's getting those targets. But it's just a sorry situation, I think. But I don't know. I don't know where to go next with him either.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think ultimately the disappointing factor is I think someone gets traded either for picks or something, and I don't know whether that – I think most likely it'll probably be – depending on how Kareem Hunt comes back, it might be Nick Chubb that gets shipped somewhere for some picks to pick up some O-line players because, they don't have any picks in those later rounds, which is what you need for O-linemen. There's no, I haven't followed college, so I don't know if there's too many good O-linemen coming out of college right now, but I doubt you can pick them up in the first or second round. Anyone who's, really, really good. So, I mean, the Odell thing, I still think the Browns won that trade long term. I think you
Okay.
look at the fact that, Odell's getting 5 targets a game for 70 yards. Like, that's incredible. That's, what is it? That's over 10 yards a play. And he's only getting the ball 5 times a game. I think that's impressive. But I just think, I think right now, I think the fact that they gave away an O lineman and picked up a defensive lineman that hasn't looked that impressive, even for the Giants, was disappointing for them. I think Vernon, what's he done for him? Like, where is he? He's not even on the. Oh, here he is. Olivier Vernon has 17 tackles, 4 tackle assists, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. So, I mean, Giants really did some good moves there, getting rid of Vernon for an offensive lineman. And I know Daniel Jones is still getting sacked a bit, but it's definitely short up the Giants line a bit. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm giving up on the Browns until next year. Recycle and repeat.
Yep, shouldn't have bought into that hype, but
No.
I think, in saying that too, they're 2-5 in an awful situation, but the hard half of their season's gone by now.
Yeah.
Like, this next half is, a piece of piss in comparison. Like,
yeah.
When you've got games against the Dolphins and 2 games against the Bengals, and it definitely shores it up from now, like Browns, Bills, Steelers, Dolphins, Steelers, Bengals. It's certainly an easier half of the season, and then ending with Cardinals, Ravens, Bengals. Like, this is the season we look forward to, and we said at the start of the season that they were probably, they looked on track that they could finish like 7-1 in the second half of the season if they were playing up to a standard that they haven't, that we thought they could, but they haven't. But, there's room to improve. And currently the AFC is in a bit of shambles with teams not dominating the same way they are in the NFC. But, we're halfway through the season.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I think they have enough to push for a wild card, but I don't see them getting back, because you still look at the teams that are around them. Texans, they have a fairly easy run home actually, Texans have a pretty hard run home for a team with no defense. I don't know, man. It's just tough. I guess it's just wait and see with the Browns. But I am disappointed that I invested so much in them, expected so much, and now we're getting nothing of what we wanted, or I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's a sad situation of buying into a hype early before they've proven anything, but who can deny buying in? It's too much fun.
Exactly. And I tell you who should have bought in was the Cowboys. Should have gone all in and got Jamal Adams the other day on the trade deadline day. Dead set.
What is going on with the Jets?
They're a mess. They literally stink.
Jets, okay, pretty much sum it up, have 3 good players, 2 good players in Le'Veon and Jamal, and a third good player who I actually rate in Robbie Anderson. And I'm pretty sure they were only shipping around for like a 3rd or a 4th round pick for him, which I don't understand why people didn't try and pick him up. Like, I was sitting back going, I reckon the Steelers should pick him up, because you know what, we're in a bit of a shambles. Let's just screw this draft over and look forward to the year after when Big Ben's back. Give him the pieces now for it.
Yeah.
Give us a good second option wide receiver who's arguably a first option, like similar situation to Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham at the Browns. And you're giving up not a lot for it. He's your safe deep option and takes a lot of pressure off Juju. Like, you look at the Dolphins game, Juju went 5 receptions for 103 and a touchdown, but he was pretty much double teamed the entire game. And, the game didn't open up until Xavier Howard was injured.
Yeah.
So, Jets are a mess. Like, 3 good players, and they're trying to ship them all off without the knowledge of, I don't know, the players themselves, I guess, and not wanting to leave.
Yeah, exactly. And the Bobby Anderson thing is, every time I've seen him, I've thought, this guy's a really decent receiver. Like, he's a really good receiver. He's not in that level where he's not superstar. He's not in that level below, but he's really, really good. And every time I've seen him, he's shone with whoever's back there. Like, he looked good with Fitz when Ryan Fitzpatrick was still there. He looked good with the quarterbacks after Fitz. Like, and he's looking good with Sam Darnold now. But the Jets just can never seem to get him the ball, whether it's the quarterback or whatever. It's genuinely the quarterback. And
yeah, and that was a big issue. Like, especially in the Patriots game, there were two deep balls that were just right there, but they were like a meter too far, or a scenario like that for Bobbi Anderson. Otherwise, his stats would have looked fantastic.
And that's the thing, that you wonder why teams wouldn't, because picking receivers we've seen over the past couple of years is terribly hard to do. Unless it's like a top 15 guy who's proven in college. I don't think any wide receiver who anyone has taken a gamble on has clicked. I think DK Metcalf has clicked a little bit. I think he's probably the only one who I've seen picked out of the lottery or out of the top 15 or top 12 picks that's actually done well for his team and added value, in my opinion anyway. Like,
but in saying that too, with DK Metcalf, he was someone that was hyped that should have been a first round pick.
Yeah, exactly.
But, fell to early third or late second.
I think it was early second, wasn't it? It was like the first pick of the second round. I think the Seahawks.
No, it was definitely later than that, because
was it?
Steelers didn't have a second round pick. They only had a third round pick, and I was thinking we were going to pick him up potentially.
Yeah.
He just kept falling and falling.
Yeah. But again, that just proves that like the guys that were evaluated as potentially top 15 are the only ones that are shining for wide receivers. So, I mean, obviously a large amount of the argument with the NFL is, we'll trade you this player, you give us picks back, and we'll pick a player in the same position. If he clicks, good. We have a young guy who's cheaper. We can have him cheaper for more years. If he doesn't click, then who cares? He's cheap. We can cut him, and it costs literally nothing on the cap, because it's like a third, fourth round pick.
Or you just keep him sitting there because why not? He's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Injury cover, legit.
Yeah.
Like, just have him go out there and look like a brick. But I mean, Bobbi Anderson. But even more annoying, or it annoyed me to wake up and see that Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Adams had been shipped around, or at least at the Jets front office had listened to, trade offers for them. It's ridiculous that the Jets would consider trading away their two best players easily on either side of the ball. I mean, I get that Adam Gase didn't want a running back brought in when he come in, but it's Le'Veon Bell, for God's sake. The man has looked insane with a terrible O-line, a marginally decent quarterback, and Jamal Adams, he literally won the game for the Jets against the Cowboys the other day just purely because of how good he is off instinct, off speed, off everything. He blitzed Dak and made Dak shit himself on a 2-point conversion and won the Jets the game. And you're shipping him around for a first and a third. And like 2 days before, you're telling him you never want to trade him, and he's happy to be there and be the building block for your organization. I think he's gone, man. I think if it continues this way, I think it literally turns into a Jalen Ramsey situation 2.0, and Jamal Adams will be on the Patriots or the Cowboys.
Straight to a good team and actually winning games. But yeah, it's sad to see. And I know for a fact, like, we both love Jamal Adams, and he's one of the best safeties in the game, even though he's only got like 2 or 3 years experience. Like, he's just phenomenal. But the Jets just, I don't know what's going on. I think Adam Gase is just a horrendous coach.
He is.
And it was the worst choice in, allowing him to fill that position and grow in that, because he's just, has he ever in his career done anything right? Like, obviously I'm pretty recent to NFL, but he's only been on losing teams and failing organizations from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I'm just going to pull up his Wikipedia page right now.
But, I'll just follow on while you're looking at that. It's like Le'Veon Bell, he didn't want him when he came in. But, yeah, like you said, it's Le'Veon Bell. He's looked fantastic in a situation. Like, he's looked fantastic while Sam Darnold's been injured and they've been playing a third-string quarterback, but Le'Veon Bell is still putting up good numbers and looking strong. Like, you couldn't say that about almost any other running back in the league, the way he does as a power running back.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, Adam Gase has coached the Broncos in 2013. He was Bears offensive coordinator in 2015. Then he coached the Dolphins for 2 years, and now he's at the Jets. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's a terrible people manager. I just think he's one of those coaches that's got all the X's and the O's, but always translates his messages the shittest. I mean, his opening press conference when he's up there looking like he's dialed in on something, like his eyes are fully open. Yeah, it's just, he is, I don't know. But yeah.
It's like he's just going around at the wrong situation. Like, I don't understand. You've got a rookie quarterback there. What are you going to get from shipping out your best players for draft picks?
Nothing.
You're just
Literally.
going to have a super young team that doesn't know how to play football. You're going to have to tank for the next 5 years. Sam Darnold's in that time probably going to look like a bust just because he's had a horrendous team.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting a new quarterback, and you're just going to, this situation's going to go on and on. They're in a position where I was going to say they need to build their defense up because it's the only thing that looks half solid with Jamal and, their first round pick. But they just traded away Leonard Williams as well.
Yeah.
Leonard Williams, who was a solid, great defensive linesman. Nothing they're doing is making sense whatsoever.
No, it's a not at all, and it stinks. And I mean, obviously, I was listening to a podcast this week, and they were ranking sort of teams as, either rebuilding or don't know what they're doing. And I think, they rank the Jets and also the Redskins in that way, is that they're teams that you look at and you go, well, what are you doing? Like, you're making moves to try and be competitive, but then 3 months later, you're shipping everyone away and shopping them around and trying to rebuild. Are you committing to the rebuild or what? And I think these teams that are tanking, go and get shit quarterbacks. Don't draft high guys. Get your skill positions high in the draft, even if it means you have to trade down. Get shitty quarterbacks that are used to playing with shit players, so when they come to the NFL, they're not like, you know what I mean? I feel like this is an interesting theory of go pick up not as good quarterbacks and then stick them on shitty teams because they're used to that. Don't go and get a UCS guy who's had 5-star recruits smacked around him since he was for 4 years in college, and now he has to go deal with, I don't know, brick hands at wide receiver and terrible running back at running back. It's like, pick your personnel and decide what you're doing, for God's sake. I'm so glad the Cowboys haven't had to rebuild. I honestly couldn't stand it in the NFL. But sorry, you go on.
But it's a thing. It's okay, so essentially you could break it down, and obviously there's more ways to go about it, but usually it's one of these two situations on how you build a franchise. It's either you get the quarterback first, watch them grow into one of the best quarterbacks in the league that can carry your franchise, then bring in, the items and the assets to make it work. So we can see that with Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay. He was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of college. He did really well. He won him a Super Bowl, and now he's continued on his great career as one of the most talented quarterbacks in history. Now he's got a great defense. He's got Devontae Adams and Aaron Williams and, Jamal Williams, who's doing really well.
Yep.
And he hardly has to play football. He just has to sit back, watch the show unfold, make the pass he needs to. And he's still looking like an absolute magician while he does it.
Yeah.
And, he's probably going to lead him to the NFC championships, I'm guessing, at this point in time.
Yeah.
And he's going to look great doing it. Or you go the other route of, let's go back to Seahawks a few years ago, where they had the best defense in the league with the Legion of Boom, bring in Russell Wilson, who was a 3rd or a 4th round draft pick and managed to turn into a gem and one of the greatest players now.
Yeah.
But he was on his rookie contract, and that's how they won. They won off the team, not off, how good Russell Wilson was necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. And, you look at those teams, and I guarantee you the Seahawks were competitively drafting, and I guarantee you Green Bay was. And this seems to be a thing. Even, you look at the storied franchises in the league, you look at the Seahawks, you look at the Steelers, you look at the Cowboys, they've never had a rebuilding phase over the past couple of years because they either have owners or a fan base big enough to dictate what the organization has to do. I think
that's fair.
I mean, you look at the Redskins and stuff, they definitely have big fan bases. They have loyal, committed. Football's massive in Miami. They have a big fan base, but their owners don't give a shit. They view it as a way to make money. And when you have it like that, you look at the Cowboys with Jerry Jones, and I don't know the Steelers owner off the top of my head, but they're trying to make competitive moves. And when they have a down season, it's one down season, and then it's rebound or everyone's out. You look at the Cowboys when we went Dak's rookie year, and then we went 8-8 the next year. I think the year after that we released Dez, and Jason Witten retired. I think that was last year actually, and and now we're bouncing back, and obviously we're not looking that dominant yet, but we're still trying to be competitive. We're still trading for players. Our organization has a goal and we're working towards that. These franchises don't seem to, and I don't think tanking in the NFL is effective. I think the next 5 years is going to show that Miami and, Cincinnati and Redskins wasting these years tanking means nothing because it's a 53-man roster. It's not like the NBA where one player is a 13th of the squad, or even you look at the rotation in the NBA, it's 10 players most of the time. You draft one player, that's 10% of your team sorted. If he's a good role player or if he's a good player out of college, he's going to probably be 25%. If he clicks, that's like a quarter of your team sorted for the next decade. You look at the NFL, you draft one player, that's a 53rd of your team. Like, you can't have a good receiver and have him be effective if he's got a shitty quarterback and a shit O-line who can't defend long enough to get the ball to him. And I think, everyone's talking about tanking being the new wave in NFL. It's going to fail because the more players that are decent that you ship out, the more chance that you're risking that your picks flop. And I mean, how many, looking at 2 drafts, you watch the drafts, everyone hypes everyone up and you think every player is going to be good. You go to the season, I can't even name you 3 players from, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago draft off the top of my head that I think are good. I can, but you know what I mean? From rounds, from the lower rounds, from the 3rd round down, I can't name anyone who I think is good.
After the second round, it pretty much dies off.
Exactly.
And that's 2 new players. If you want good players, it's free agency, but, that also takes up a ton of your cap space long term.
Exactly.
But, yeah, and like you said with this whole tanking situation, and, they're outperforming what I expected, and I'm sure you're still bought into the hype. Actually, I'll ask you the question, are you still bought into the Raiders hype?
Oh, shit, yeah, I'm still bought into the Raiders hype, bro. Knock on wood if you're with me. Knock on wood.
But, I looked at them, and it's working out way better than I expected. It's still a long-term, deal, I guess, they're trying to work on. But I looked at them, and I questioned, they didn't want to pay them the money, which is one way to look at it, but I don't see that as a winning mentality either.
Yeah.
They shipped out Amari Cooper, and they shipped out Khalil Mack. So Amari Cooper's gone to Cowboys and is looking like one of the best, top 10 wide receiver in the league.
Sure.
And he was already that good, at Raiders.
Yeah.
But shipped him off for a first round pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And then Khalil Mack, who just won Defensive Player of the Year, is still probably ranked the 2nd best defensive player, only behind Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And they shipped him off as well. And I sat back and I'm like, sure, you've got 2 first-round picks. It looks great for the draft. There's going to be so much hype. But you're not going to find people equivalent to these 2 players.
Yeah, I know.
That's what didn't make sense to me. And it's like they got Colin Farrell, who, how's he gone, Ethan? Heard much about him?
No, I haven't. I think Colin Farrell was a terrible pick. I think he was one of the better defensive linemen in the draft, but I think picking him at 5 or whatever, or 6 was a massive overreaction when Devin Bush and stuff were still on the board.
Yeah, when there was still Devin White, Devin Bush, there was so many other great options to go there. So, yeah, I agree there. But he hasn't been bad, but he's not been, he hasn't been first round quality, where they took him. And then, they got Josh Jacobs, who's been fantastic, but you expect that from a first round draft pick. And in all honesty, they probably could have got him in the 2nd round with that draft pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, because I don't know who else was going to take him, in all honesty. I think that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, true. I think I'll pull up the draft right now, but I think at the end of the day, first round running back talent is always good. I
absolutely.
I can't remember a first round running back over the past few years who hasn't been serviceable at least.
Besides getting injured, a first round draft pick's always fantastic.
Yeah. And it's I think Josh Jacobs has actually been really good for them. I just think
been fantastic.
I think you look at the teams that are rebuilding, and you look at Cincinnati, they bring in a new head coach. You look at Miami, they've got a new head coach, and you look at the Redskins, they sacked their coach. None of these coaches have stability. I think you look at the Raiders situation with John Gruden, they give him a 10-year contract. They ship out anyone who's costing or going to cost them too much while they try and move to Las Vegas. Because this is the thing. I think, if the Raiders weren't moving to Las Vegas, I really think that, they would have re-signed, maybe not Amari, but they would have re-signed Mack And, maybe John Gruden's rebuild right now is looking for a new quarterback besides Derek Carr. And I think, I think it's possible, but that's beside itself. I just think Josh Jacobs was a really good pickup for them. And I think this just shows, like, it doesn't matter, like, trading a player for a third or fourth round pick is worthless, because I think there's more chance of them being a bust than there is of them being good. And trading for first round talent is not easy. Like, Khalil Mack, the second best defensive lineman, probably the second best defender in the league, is worth one first round pick. No, how many was he worth, sorry, over multiple years?
Khalil Mack, I think
Yeah.
he was 2 first rounds and maybe a third round.
Yeah, I think that's right. But,
Yeah.
But still, like, it's hard to get first round picks in the NFL. And I think, I still believe in the Raiders. I really do. I think John Gruden has enough stability. Like, he's got a 10-year contract. Dude's probably
Yeah.
going to get fired in his
And
sixth or seventh year or leave, but he's got stability for years to be able to say. And I think that'd go back to the belief of the players, is that, when he says, I'm here for the long run, he really is there for the long run. Like, the players have no, doubts in their mind that he's going to get fired in week 6 when they're 4-4 for no reason, or 4-2, so, or like 2-4 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's completely the difference. Like, between these tanking teams and Raiders is Raiders have got the front office and the head coach that they planned for, where Miami and Redskins and everyone, like, don't have that sorted out yet. So I know how they expect someone like Dwayne Haskins or even, Case Keenum or Josh Rosen or whoever to flourish at their franchise when, they can't even get the head coach or anything with any stability. So that's definitely where Raiders have a huge positive compared to all these teams. And they're going to continuously get better each and every year. Like, there's no doubt about that. And John Gruden's a relatively good coach and whatever. But I think, just doing full circle and you coming back to the whole teams like Cowboys and Steelers don't go through rebuilding phases. Not many franchises can do that, but these are some of the better, besides Jerry Jones at times, better ran franchises in the league. Like, you look at Mike Tomlin, so he's the head coach for Steelers.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for 12, 13 years now, and not one year he's had a losing record.
Wow.
Like, in that entire time, not many coaches can say that. And Steelers are one of those teams that are consistently, I think, like, in their history or over the last 60 years or something crazy like that, they've only ever had 3 head coaches.
Wow, that's stability.
Yeah, that's stability at its finest. And that's just why they've been at the top of the league for, not the top of the league, but I mean consistent contenders for the Super Bowl each and every year, and have tied the most Lombardi trophies with anyone else, because it's stable. Like, that's just a stable franchise where what you're going to get every single year. And that's kind of what teams need to, come full circle around. And who are the, best up and coming teams that everyone's excited for at the moment? It's teams like Rams or Cardinals or Green Bay, those teams who have actually got really great head coaches come in for their first seasons, and they're all performing really well.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you need to build the team around. You get these quality head coaches that have been under other great talents, and then let them build the team. Not try and half build a team, then throw someone in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then not be able to do anything with it.
Exactly.
And then ship them off. Like, the best thing the Cardinals did was bring Kingsbury in, and even though they got Josh Rosen, the 10th pick overall the year before, allowed him to draft Kyler Murray.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though in a lot of people's eyes, like, I think both of us, we were excited for Kyler Murray, but we were just like, how about you give Josh Rosen a fair go?
Yeah. And then,
but you allow them to build around the coach and go from there.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing, is letting the coach do what he wants. And I think, we looked at it all off season and we knew that Cliff was coming in to draft Kyler. I think just before the draft, sort of the talk toned down about him actually drafting Kyler, and it sort of shifted towards they might take Bosa. But, having everyone know that Cliff Kingsbury was coming in with his new system and his quarterback that he wants. And I think you look at the division that they're in with the 49ers and the Rams and Seahawks, there's no way Josh Rosen survives in that division, playing those teams twice a year with the O-line that Arizona has. Like, they needed to get a mobile quarterback, or you can just chalk up 6 losses. Like, there's no way. Yep. And that's no offense to Josh Rosen, but he's not a mobile quarterback. Like you said, new coach, stability. He gets what he wants, and it kicks off that stability. And I have high hopes for Cliff Kingsbury. Touch wood. I really hope he turns out well, and I hope our Kyler turns out well too.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of either to be sold
Yeah,
on how they're going to go long term. But yeah, obviously you hope for the best for everyone involved, and hope they can flourish. But once again, I think going full circle, and you were talking about trying to look for these first round picks or keeping with your first round talent consistently. Let's as I always do, look at the Steelers for a second. They traded their first round and their second round pick to go up 10 places in the draft last year.
yep.
With those 10 places, they managed to get Devin Bush, who I don't know if you agree with me, but in my opinion has been the second best defensive rookie, probably not overall, but second best defensive rookie out of any team that was drafted up. The only player I think has been better is Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough Steelers games, but have you seen any Tampa games? Have you watched a Tampa game by any chance? What's his comparison sort of like to, you've got Devin Bush, haven't you? What's his comparison like to Devin White? Is that the one?
Devin White seemed to be a much more like, strong man, I guess, who's doing a lot of the run stopping in that terms of it. But he had a few injury games. I can't remember if he missed a couple games or, he was just in and out of a couple games that have kind of damaged his, I guess, statistics and so on. But I think he's been solid, but he hasn't been anything special either.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll have to check out Devin Bush then because, but yeah, go on because, sorry.
No, that's all I wanted to say. I was just trying to continue on this fact of how important, these first round picks are.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, Steelers aren't a different team completely, but it's just a complete change of where they're at from just drafting 10 places higher, because I don't even know who they get going back 10 places and can add this much quality to their team. And even let's continue on to the fact they managed to get Minkah Fitzpatrick straight after, Devin Bush, like in the after the second round of the NFL, and for a first round pick, and he's completely changed their entire team.
Yeah.
Like he's getting pretty much an interception a game almost so far, like or one every 2 games, which is crazy stats, and has completely turned that entire Steelers defense around from us both saying at the start of this season, and me especially saying how rubbish they were with all these first round picks that had come from other teams or were duds or, so on and so forth. And that's another risk you run in the draft, which I don't understand what people do. But they've got a safe option in Minkah Fitzpatrick and has turned this defense into one to actually be reckoned with. The amount of turnovers and stuff they're getting is mental.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the importance of first round picks. I know obviously Amari was massively important for Dallas last year, but you look who got picked at the number 27th pick last year, and it's obviously been a positional lapse for us this year. Number 27th pick this year is Jonathan Abram, and obviously Amari has made a massive difference. He continues to make a massive difference, touch wood. But you look at us trying to trade for Jamal Adams or looking at Jamal Adams or trying to find strong safeties. This is the importance of the first round, is that a lot of the talents that you get in the first round are going to click, either because they're just super athletic or like everyone that gets drafted in the first round is super athletic, decently talented and has a decent football IQ. Even if they don't turn out anywhere near their expectations, most of the time anyone picked in the first round has a serviceable career just because they have something that, the guys picked in the later rounds don't have. Even if, the guys in the later rounds have a better football brain or they're better in one aspect than these players are. These are the guys that have this certain athleticism and shit that, the NFL values. And, just to go into Dallas for a bit now, our pass coverage this year stinks. It sucks so bad. I went back and watched the games that I'd missed. We looked terrible against the Packers and we looked terrible against, I can't remember who it was we played the next week, but if this team is serious about going to the Super Bowl, we really should have gone all in and tried and got Jamal Adams, because I don't even know what it is. It's just blowing coverages. We let guys run slants over the middle for 17 yards. But again, we have a first round pick this year, and that's going to be something that's important for us to build towards, is picking up a safety or adding to our defense, which, I thought was elite, but damn, it's not.
Yeah, like you have one of the best defensive lines and, front seven in the league. I'd say like definitely top 10, if not, in that top five area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the safeties don't have a lot to offer. Obviously, Byron Jones is a great corner, but isn't fantastic every single game either.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, your secondary is the miss, unfortunately. And Jamal Adams is a fantastic player, but I don't know if, obviously he doesn't get a say about it, but I just can't come to the fact of why Jets are trying to trade off these players.
Yeah, neither can I. It's ludicrous, really. It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
But just to talk about, some of the trades that actually went down, what do you think of, again, Aqib Talib going to the Dolphins, a bit of a useless pick. Dolphins just picking up some picks for a salary dump, really, which is a bit of an
Yeah.
NBA move again. Like the Dolphins are just rebuilding as if they're the Miami Heat, but it's going to bite them in the ass, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go, whatever. Like, I don't see them being any good next year, even with all these, picks that they're building up. But yeah, like you said, Aqib Talib's past his prime, and every single season you watch of him, he's just dropping his capabilities, and he's pretty much on injury report for the rest of the season, so he won't even play this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, dump a cap space, which I guess can't hurt them because they're going to have so many rookies next year, and cap space won't be an issue.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I don't know. I think it's just both teams are kind of getting what they want,
Yeah.
and everyone's happy.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think Miami's trying to do this in a similar way to the Colts did it? Like they get their quarterback, if he's good enough, he'll just dance around. Like if the Dolphins get Tua, does he just do what Andrew Luck did and just dances around until they hit with enough players? Because I think T.Y. Hilton was a second round pick, wasn't he? And then you look at some of the other guys. Darius Leonard was a recent first round pick. They picked up Quentin Nelson recently. Like are the Dolphins just trying to, I don't know, Colts it? But again, like I feel like the Colts are such a like the way that they turned into what they have recently anyway was a product of multiple years of being shit and having
Yeah.
good picks and, not being able to draft good players, so then they have to dip into free agency. It's just I don't know. I don't understand why teams are tanking in the NFL. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think you can't expect to replicate the Colts. Like they have managed to bring themselves to a dream scenario where they did get Luck after I can't even think for a second, but getting Andrew Luck in, and the rest of the team's built so strongly around it that even now Andrew Luck's retired, Jacoby Brissett's walked in and has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's a very low percentage chance of happening where you can lose your franchise quarterback and still be top of your division. Like that's just
Exactly.
how well Colts have been run. And Frank Reich, like give him all the credit in the world. He's a fantastic head coach, but you can't expect that to do that as Miami Dolphins with a rookie head coach and
Exactly.
just stacks on stacks of rubbish, I guess. Like
Yeah.
the question is, you just sit back and go, what now? And hey, we're in this scenario a few years ago with the Browns, and they were hyped up to be in the Super Bowl this year. So good luck to Miami.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that Miami should really take notice about is even if you hit Luck with some picks and you end up in a Browns situation, the Browns are showing that just because you get all the players and you look good on paper doesn't mean it's going to click. Because
Yep.
I like even like you'd know, I'd assume, I don't know if you feel the same way, but when you're shit for years and years, I think it eventually rubs off on players and it rubs off on people. And if fundamental positions in your organization, and on your team are still used to being shit, then that's just sort of embedded into them now. Like I feel like a large amount of the key positions for the Browns have been there for years and been shit. And now they've had to turn it on in one off season, and it's like, And you even look at the guys that they've brought in, and not to attack them, but you look at Jarvis Landry. He was on a Miami Dolphins team that wasn't that impressive. I think they made the playoff once and got blown out by New England or something. You look at Odell. He's obviously been on the Giants, who haven't been nothing for years. It's like, you sort of can't expect. And I think that's what made Baker so significant was that he come in and he was like, nah, we're turning good again. But you look at it now this season and it's just regressed. And
Yeah.
I think,
And the worst part is too, with the amount of hype there was, it was expected, like, minimum playoffs, and we're still yet to see if they make that. But even if they go 7-2 the rest of the season, they're only 9-7, and they're going to be lucky to make a wild card.
Exactly.
And that's a fantastic second half of the season they need to go to get to that position. But you just, when you have that much hype and you continue to fail, it leaves the team and the head office and everyone in a really dampened down situation.
Yeah.
Because there were all these expectations, and it comes back to the usual Browns that still couldn't hit them.
Yeah.
And that does damage on a lot of people.
I know. I guarantee you there's people in the front office and people in the coaching rooms that are looking around like, how the fuck are we in this situation? Like, all we do all off season is make smart moves. We, brandish this brand of football of players are going to be players. Freddie Kitchens spoke about it multiple times. He's just like, I'm just going to let the players be players. You bring in Odell, which regardless is a massive move. He's like the number one most known wide receiver around the world easily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I still think Odell is the top 3 talent in the league easily. I think, obviously I'm a bit biased because he's on my fantasy team, but you have to remember that this is a guy who has a terrible O-line, quarterback's underperforming, and he's still averaging like 10 yards a catch per game when all he's being asked to do is dial up runs that the quarterback can't hit because his O-line is shit. But that's besides the point. But, the Browns will be looking around like, how did we get into this position? And then you realize letting the players be players, that means you have no organizational culture, or the head coach isn't trying to force anyone to be anything. Bam, you're giving away 8-10 penalties a game. You trade for Odell, but your quarterback can't get it to him. Bam, he's gone. So you're scratching your head about whether Odell's worth it or not, and whether it was worth all that. And, it's going to create friction in the Browns franchise. And I think really, I want the Browns to go 7-2 or 8-1, whatever they can muster to be the best. But I also would love to see them go like 4 and whatever, however many games they've got left, 4-5, and Freddie Kitchens gets sacked and they just restart again. Because honestly, I don't want to see the Browns have an easy run home, look good, and then we realize that Freddie actually is a fraud when it gets to playoffs if they somehow make a wild card. I don't know how you feel, but I just, just hit bomb, blow it up.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's, with Freddie Kitchens getting sacked, it's like, how many times can you rebuild before you get it right? And that's the only issue. You bring in someone new again, you have to start fresh again. And even though you've got the same players and whatever, coaching changes, you might go to a more defensive team. Like, the possibilities are endless of what happens, and you can't predict that.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the Browns threw the bag at Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick's protege goes to the team that Bill Belichick left, or no, that Bill Belichick went to? Like, can you just imagine Josh McDaniels on the Browns? And have you actually, this getting sidetracked again on Josh McDaniels, have you heard, well, I don't know how legit it was, but on trade deadline, there was a bit of rumors circling around somewhere on the internet that the Cowboys are thinking of letting Dak walk because he won't take a team-friendly deal, and they're just going to throw the bag at Josh McDaniels, and hopefully he can convince Tom Brady to come to Dallas to be the quarterback for Dallas. So that Tom Brady gets a chance to prove that he's not, not a system quarterback under Belichick, and that he doesn't need Belichick to win. And then Josh McDaniels taking over as head coach from Jason Garrett or whatever his name is. I don't know, Clappy Boy. But I think that would be sick. But I also would love to see I'd love to see Josh McDaniels on the Browns, bring in a little bit of Patriots, valuing the O-line, making smart trades, getting rid of your third receiver for some random white dude named Julian who somehow turns into an elite receiver. I'd love to see it, but again,
was that just a reference towards Julian Edelman?
Yeah, it was. Sorry, just a little bit of slander for the white slot receiver.
Squirrel.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd love to see Josh McDaniels leave the Patriots because he was meant to go to the Colts a couple of years ago, but pulled out last minute. And I don't know. I just think the Browns need to blow it up, and I need Freddie Kitchens out of there. Go coach college or something, bro.
Yeah, it's just too many unknowns. The thing is, they've got all the pieces to be a good team now.
Yeah.
If you just keep building on that, eventually things are bound to go right. But
well, yeah, that's what you hope.
Surely.
I know. I'm being very aggressive this podcast. Is there anything else we wanted to hit on the NFL? I've gone off multiple times.
I think we've pretty much talked about, some off points and whatever that we wanted to cover. I think next week we're probably going to dive into probably like a mid-season reevaluated predictions, because some of those have gone extremely wayward, as you can't predict with the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think, providing a new insight and updated predictions for the rest of the season is going to be interesting, and that'll probably cover a lot more of the teams we didn't cover and not specific topics.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to look back and laugh at myself, self-evaluate and see how trash some of my picks were.
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, it
Absolutely
will be.
terrible. Falcons are still going for the Super Bowl. I'm confident in it, guys.
Comeback season with Matt Ryan in a walking boot.
But it's a shocker. But on to the next one. What else would you like to speak about for the episode?
Well, I mean, obviously this is more your domain, but I seen that the Nationals beat the Astros. Another, I don't know if it's how many upsets there have been recently, but another upset, I believe, in the MLB World Series. Goes to 7 games. So,
congratulations to the Nationals for winning the MLB World Series. A fairy tale story, coming from the wild card game, and that was a comeback position. I think they were 2 runs down or something, and had to force a comeback from that, and managed to make themselves to the World Series, and then being down 3-2 with 2 games to go and winning both away games. It's the first time in history that a MLB team in the World Series has won all 4 away games.
Really?
So, yeah. So, I don't know what it was, but on home soil, they couldn't get it done. But in Houston, no issues at all.
Wow. That's insane. So, how does does it work in this? Do you know that much? Like, how does the 7-game series work in the baseball? Is it like the NBA where like both teams get 2 home games, and depending on which one you win, depends on how the last 3, because in the NBA, like the higher seed in the finals gets the first 2 games, and if the away team wins one, then that means that game 5 goes to the like lesser seed if they win, if you get what I mean. But then if you know what I mean or not?
Yep, I'm not 100% certain, but this one went, so the first 2 games were at Houston, who were the highest seed. Then the next 3 were at Washington, and then final 2 were at Houston.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
I'm not if it's set in stone that way every single series. Someone with a bit more expertise, maybe let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how this one worked anyway.
That's insane. So Washington went up 2-0 and then went down 3-0, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Astros will sweep them. They've won the last 3, and then Washington digs their heels in Houston, and that's insane.
Yeah,
that's so sick.
That it's unbelievable situation for them. And I didn't get to catch every game, but the ones that I did catch were pretty much the 3 games that the Astros won. And I sat back just going, the Washington Nationals have great pitchers. Like, that's their strength. And after everything that happened, like Bryce Harper left, and I'm sure you probably heard about it, but didn't really make too much sense of it. But the guy who got offered, I think it was $130 million over 13 years. Like, he was a Washington player who got traded to Philadelphia, and, against all odds, this team has managed to come back. Like, they were on a lose. I think they had the 2nd worst record, like a quarter into the season or something.
Wow.
And yeah, managed to make this huge comeback and then win their first World Series ever. So, huge congratulations to the Nationals, because they did what no one would have expected them or thought they could do throughout, the entire season.
Yeah, exactly. I remember hearing about the Bryce Harper shit, because MLB contracts are massive, man. So I remember seeing how much money it was, but damn, I forgot that he'd left the Nationals. I didn't, when it happened, I was like, a lot of the buzz on Twitter was that Bryce Harper had been their only good player for a couple of years, and then, he goes to Philly and gets paid, and that's all the talk was. But damn, that's so sick. Shout out to the Nationals.
Yeah.
I guess obviously other big stuff going on today is World Cup 3rd, 4th playoff. Wales are playing All Blacks. I think New Zealand's going to smash Wales in this game.
We said that last week. They'd do it to England, and that obviously didn't happen for anyone who didn't know. But yeah, surely the All Blacks flog Wales. And I think, as we've always said, that after New Zealand loses a game, that's when they're the worst of us. Like, they come back so much stronger and have perfected everything they've done wrong.
Yeah.
I expect this almost to be like a 50-10 blowout.
Yeah, I do too. And I'd love to see Wales win tonight, but really it's like, I don't know, choosing between, what's the saying? Choosing between your sister or your cousin?
Well, I don't have to make those choices, but
Yeah, never mind. Okay. That was a terrible one. But yeah, like, I mean, I'd love to see Steve Hansen get beat again on his final game for New Zealand. That's a bit mean spirited, but he's such a sore loser. Dude was kicking up a stink in the press conference after that. But anyway, I still think this All Blacks team is legendary. I think Wales has put in a massive shift to get this far. I'm glad that I finally got my prediction that they were the worst team in the semi-finals proven, but even then, that was just because the game against South Africa was batshit boring, but they still fought hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it really will be 50-10, but I'm hoping for a real close game that's a grinder, and then All Blacks pull away in the 60th minute like they always do. But I mean, England versus South Africa too. I don't see South Africa.
It's going to be a game of the kickers.
Yeah, I think it will. I think that's where it's going to go to. But I mean, the way England attacked New Zealand last week, if they get any of that back, I don't think South Africa. I think South Africa is a bit like Ireland, where old coaches, old school games play, and if they fall out of like contention in the game, then it's just over. Like they don't have catch up footy in them, South Africa. And I think if England can throw the ball around and change up their attack as much as they did, they look like the Patriots out there, man. Like 1 minute they were throwing it wide, the next they completely switch it up to throw New Zealand off, and it worked. And if they do it against South Africa, I don't think South Africa stands a chance. But saying that, the mighty Bokke in the final, that was a terrible South African accent, but I don't know. They'll put up a fight.
I wasn't sure what you're going for.
Man.
But I won't try and improve on it either.
Thank you. Save the listeners some cringe. They'll just get it all from me today.
All right. I'll be here next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else really? There's not been too much go on. Oh, Anthony Davis, but we also already mentioned the NBA. Never mind.
Oh, you can continue on the NBA with all your exciting highlights. How are the Lakers doing?
Anthony Davis, I said it before, the man is going to win MVP this season, and LeBron is just on daddy daycare time until the finals.
Daddy daycare.
Did you see the photo? I don't know. I didn't look into it, but did you see the photo of when he pulled the headband off and like half his hair got pulled out with it, or he has like a massive bald patch on the... I'll send you the photo later, man. It's funny as shit. Everyone please Google it, because like Bron's been rumored to get hair treatments for ages because I don't know, I think he's naturally balding or whatever, but it looks so terrible. But I mean, I don't know. Lakers are doing well. Warriors suck. The league's competitive. I'm seeing Charlotte push the Celtics and shit to games. It's really sick to see this year. To see the competitiveness
It's ridiculous and unpredictable, and that's what you want.
And yeah,
no doubt about it.
Exactly. There's just too much basketball on, but it's so enjoyable.
Absolutely.
But I guess that's it. Really?
Was there any highlights you wanted to... I know we already spoke about the NFL, but any specific games that you caught, or we'll push that into next week?
No, yeah, I think we'll push it into next week. I mean, I didn't really catch too much. I think, there's not really much. I mean, most of the matchups last week were just... I think, actually, San Fran blowing out Panthers as much as they did was insane.
Yeah, and, as someone who had Tevin Coleman in their fantasy and didn't play him because Panthers have been a fantastic defense up until this week, I was ecstatic.
Bro, I took the risk in my other league, man. He won me the game. He was such a beast. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all, folks, I guess.
But yeah, in whole, it was just a lot of people doing what they normally do. Like, usually the teams you expected to perform well did, and Patriots are still dominating and look great, and Green Bay are performing the way they want. One highlight I do want to make mention of is, did you see the Deshaun Watson passing touchdown where he got kicked in the eye before throwing the game-winning touchdown?
I feel like I did, but I feel like I was watching Red Zone and doing something at the time, so I don't feel like I was fully tuned in. So I think I might have missed it, but I mean, watching Red Zone, it'd flash back to Houston and it'd be like, oh, Deshaun Watson, big play. Deshaun Watson, nice pass. Hopkins, good catch. It was just, but what was it?
It was, okay, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, definitely go check it out because it's insane. But he's pretty much in the pocket. He starts to push out, sheds off a tackle. Like the guy kind of like he spins around to get away from him.
Yep.
And as it goes, because the guy's in the process of tackling him, his foot comes out, kicks Deshaun Watson in the eye, and now it's all puffed up and everything's wrong with it. But he's broken away from this tackle, is moving out to the right, and he pretty much pulls his helmet, like he has to readjust it, checks his eye, and then throws the game-winning touchdown, one eye closed, and just falls to the ground and like has no idea whether he made the throw or not.
Wow.
He just hears the hype of the crowd. But it's just an insane throw, and like to win the game in that scenario, mental. Like Deshaun Watson's a magician.
He is. He honestly is.
He's one of the most exciting quarterbacks to watch in the entire league.
He's
like,
another
for me,
one.
it's probably down to him, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson. Like they're just the way they jump around the pocket and the throws they're all capable of. It's just phenomenal.
It is. It really is. And he's another one whose talent's being wasted on, with a shitty offensive line. I mean, it's not being wasted. Like, this is how good he is. He's carrying the Texans to wins with Hopkins and, not a decent running back room. But, I mean, their defense is terrible. JJ Watt's out for the season. So,
yeah, that's a big
serious concerns about whether Deshaun Watson can win 53-50 for the next 8 weeks. But I look forward to seeing it because the dude is that talented.
Sadly, I think he's capable of it.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs a defense. I think it's like Patrick Mahomes of last year. He doesn't need a defense to perform well. Like, he's happy. And I think just with the experience too, Deshaun Watson's like a better quarterback, like IQ-wise, than Patrick Mahomes was last year.
Yeah.
And will get wins in those a lot closer games that Patrick Mahomes couldn't last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. Deshaun has the capability to, we've spoke about it multiple times. I don't know if we've said it on the pod, but between each other is just Pat Mahomes last year seemed to have that it was just easy for him to walk out there and throw an 88-yard touchdown. But then when you do that against the Patriots or against another team with a decent running back class, like, they just wear you down on the run and waste the last 4 minutes, when you just come and should have scored the game-winning touchdown. And I think Deshaun has that ability to control the game tempo, and that's the most amazing thing. Tell you what, that's another team that should join the Josh McDaniels bidding war. I don't even know if he's up for whatever, but can you imagine Josh McDaniels coaching Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins? Like, you look at what...
It'd be insane. And like I can't remember his name right now, but the coach they have isn't
Bill
a great
Burr or
coach.
something, is it? No, not Bill Burr. That's a comedian. It's not McNair because that's their owner that died, I think. I don't know. Something Bill.
Yeah, anyway, he isn't great. He's a pretty predictable coach. So it'd be exciting to see someone with so much flair going around.
Exactly.
But, that's in a day we'll never see where Patriots give up someone good.
Exactly. Bill will just take him down to the dungeon and give him the mind wash therapy again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
all right, well, I think that sums it up.
It does. It really does. So thanks for listening again this week, everyone. Bit of a shorter one. Whole lot packed into this one of just me getting angry, but I had fun. So let's go.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly. So we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.